In this video, I'm going to introduce the basic ideas of the software development life cycle. And I don't want to get too in the weeds here because this is a data analytics minor. It's not a software development minor or an app development minor. At the same time, the boundaries between disciplines tends to be kind of porous. I mean, suppose you have an app or a company has an app and they make a change to the app. And they want to know whether this change is increasing or decreasing their customer retention. So they perform A/B testing, and now they have a lot of data that they need to what? A lot of data that they need to analyze. So actually developing the app or deploying the app might not be your job, but you still can be involved in a project like this, and it's good to have some idea what your colleagues are doing. So everything I said about the data life cycle is also true of the software development life cycle. We really need to talk about software development life cycles because there are a bunch of them. And the differences between these life cycles is much more significant than the differences between competing versions of the data life cycle. Like the data life cycle, Google has their version, IBM has their version, but at the end of the day, I mean, you have to collect the data, you have to store the data, you have to clean the data. A lot of the differences between those life cycles is really semantic. That's not true with software development life cycles. And people have written books about competing software development life cycles. It's obviously far too much content to cover in a little under a week. Um, so I'm going to pick two classic models and I'm going to present them and then compare and contrast them. So the kind of classic software development life cycle is the waterfall model. And in the waterfall model, you start your software development by deciding what you need your software to do, all the requirements you have, and then you implement step by step. The waterfall model is so named because you can picture it as a constant downwards flow. You can't swim up the waterfall. So you start by determining all of your requirements. Then you do your design. You design your system. Then you implement that. Then you test it. Then you deploy it to your customer. And then you might have to do maintenance, or you definitely will have to do maintenance. You know, if Windows puts out an update, maybe it breaks something and you have to fix it. But you start at the top and then you flow down. And this is a very intuitive, but also a very naive idea of how software development should work. And I mean, this probably is, you wouldn't have developed software per se, but this does probably mimic the projects you've done in programming classes. You figure out what you want to do, you lay out the system, you implement it, you make sure it works, you deploy it to your professor. Probably no maintenance step in that context. So it's not nonsense. And this model does get used. It's not a complete dinosaur. It works well for short-term projects with easy to understand and easy to articulate goals. But it has some serious cons as well that makes it inappropriate for a lot of more complicated software development. I mean, the big con, or a big con, one of several, is that there's no working software until late in the process. And that's simply not how a lot of modern software development works. I mean, assuming that being in this class means you're relatively up to date technologically, your phone is probably updating apps all the time. You've got these pieces of software, and the developers are modifying them and improving them constantly. And it's not maintenance, they're not fixing errors, they're implementing new features, I guess, but what do I mean, I guess? They're definitely implementing new features, but there's no way in this model, once you've deployed the thing, to go back up to the implementation phase. So that's a big one. Because this model is completely linear, it's also fragile, is how I would put it. Go back to this, and you're doing your software development, and you're in the testing stage, and everything is going great. And then you get a call from your customer saying, hey, our requirements just changed. Well, in this model, everything you've done is now wasted. I mean, maybe not literally everything. You can try to salvage stuff, but now we have new requirements, so we need a new system, so we need a new implementation, so we need to do new testing, and your previous work was wasted. So that's a major concern. And there are other issues as well. You can I'll link to some open source resources if you want to read more on this. So if this model doesn't really work for a lot of projects, and it does not work well for lengthy projects or complicated projects, then what might we use in its place? Well, there are a bunch of answers to that. I think this video, I lose track of all time when recording. I think this video might be running on a little long, so I'm going to end it here, and then we'll talk about agile software development in its own video.